You are listening to the Navigating Adult ADHD podcast with your ADHD coach and expert, Zena. Hello, my friend. Welcome back. We are navigating adult ADHD today. You know the drill. Before we dive into this episode, where we're going to be talking about when both of you have ADHD, you and your partner, I want to be straight with you all and tell you I am feeling pretty flat today. I have recently experienced some health challenges and am in the process of getting a diagnosis, which I will share more about in an upcoming episode because it is all very much related to being neurodivergent. But I have not avoided this podcast all week. I have been unable to record it during a weekday. I'm actually doing it on a Saturday morning, because I have had such low energy and been super flat. And I'm still super flat, but I really want to do this. I want to get this episode recorded and out and share it with you all. So I just want to be transparent and say, if I'm a little low in the vibes today, that's why. There's life happening. Life happens. And I'm showing up because I want to get this out for you. And if you are here listening, I am so grateful that you are here. Thank you so much for being here. Love fellow ADHDers, so I really do appreciate you being here. So this is a very requested topic. I've had a couple of emails actually recently about this, so thank you for emailing in to ask. But also, we had this question come up recently inside the Adulting with ADHD program. We had a question around how to navigate when you both have ADHD and especially get triggered and experience RSD, etc. So I am so happy that we are talking about this topic. Now, if you have ADHD and your partner doesn't, don't worry. You likely have friends who have ADHD. Perhaps your co-workers have ADHD. You will definitely have relationships in your life where somebody else has ADHD and you may trigger each other, or you may find that person is somebody that you're incredibly connected to and get on really, really well with, and we're going to talk about that side of it as well. Okay, so I know you are going to relate to this episode regardless of your relationship status, my friend. This is going to be really helpful for any relationships that you have in your life. So when we talk about both partners having ADHD, that does not necessarily mean they have the same ADHD, okay? Two people with ADHD can have completely different strengths, different triggers, different sensory needs, different executive function challenges, different emotional patterns as well. So in this episode today, we are going to dive into 7 common challenges that dual ADHD relationships often experience. We're also going to talk about the good side of being in a relationship with somebody who also has ADHD, because obviously there are reasons that you are attracted to each other. And lastly, I'm going to share with you 8 practical tools that you can use to strengthen and support your ADHD relationships. Many of these are things that I use in my own relationship as well. Okay? So what might a dual ADHD relationship look like? Well, there were a lot of examples that came to mind, but let's just say you start to discuss the power bill, and somehow you got onto the topic of what would we do if we won lotto? And then you talk about moving to Hawaii, and all of a sudden the power bill remains unpaid. Or perhaps you forget to get milk on the way home. I mention it to you. You hear that as criticism, so you react defensively. I take your defensiveness as rejection. And now we're fighting about our entire relationship when this is all actually about the fact that we don't have any milk. Or perhaps you see flights to Fiji are on sale. So you say to your partner, hey, should we book a trip? And your partner says, nah, probably not, because we need that money for rates this month. And you say, yeah, but it would be so fun and like we really deserve a holiday. And your partner says, yeah, that's true. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it. And then all of a sudden you're in debt and you can't afford to pay the rates bill for the month. Or perhaps your partner says, hey, don't put that away. If I can't see it, I'm going to totally forget that it exists. And maybe this is supplements, right? Like, I'm going to forget to take my supplements if you put them in the drawer. And you respond with, if I continue to see this on the kitchen bench every day, I might set fire to it. Now, I've got to be honest, that is so me. In our relationship, Emmett likes to leave all of his supplements out. He likes to leave his glasses, his sunglasses, everything on the kitchen bench. I swear to God, he would cover the kitchen bench in his stuff if he could. And for me, I see that as like clutter, a form of like visual overwhelm, like clutter everywhere. And I like things to have a home, and their home does not need to be on the kitchen bench. So trust me, that is one in our relationship that shows up a lot. Here's another sort of scenario that we see quite often in these dual ADHD relationships. Okay, one person feels criticized or rejected. And when they feel like they've been criticized, they get defensive. Maybe they shut down or they snap back. And then the other person experiences that as rejection. So their RSD fires up. So now you're both protecting yourself. You're both feeling this RSD and you're not hearing each other, right? You're just trying to protect yourselves and fight off what feels like an attack. So the connection has completely gone. So that could look like you saying, hey, can you please put your dishes in the dishwasher instead of leaving them on the bench? And yes, I may have actually had this exact conversation recently with Emmett. And then let's just say your partner hears that as, you're lazy, you never pull your weight. So what do? They immediately get defensive. And then they say, well, I was going to do it. I've had a really big day. Why do you always make such a big deal out of shit like this? And how do you interpret that? You're hearing, hey, your feelings don't matter. You're being unreasonable. I can't bring up anything with you. So your RSD kicks in and you no doubt are going to snap back. Fine. I just won't ask you to do anything anymore. Forget it. And what do they hear? They hear that as rejection and withdrawal and probably snap back with something like, great, so now I'm the bad guy again. Right? And all of a sudden you're both triggered, you're both dysregulated, you're both feeling RSD. And there's two people who really genuinely do care about each other are just, fighting, feeling attacked, wondering, why they're not appreciated, why they don't feel safe or respected in this relationship, when it all just started because of 3 dirty plates sitting on the bench. Okay? So let's dive into the 7 common challenges that dual ADHD relationships can experience. Number 1 is what we were just talking about with that example. It is when 2 people trigger each other's emotional dysregulation. Okay, so research on ADHD and couple conflict has found that emotional dysregulation is frequently discussed as a major relationship challenge. And there's no surprise, because this is one of the most common and most challenging symptoms of having ADHD is getting really dysregulated, right? When our emotions get really loud, really intense, and feel very overwhelming for us, okay? They can go from, that might look like going from 0 to 100, okay? Raising voices really quickly, becoming defensive or saying things impulsively, like saying something maybe to hurt the other person that you might regret later. It might look like shutting down or just walking away, leaving, slamming a door, right? Punching a wall is something I've heard about quite a bit, right? Struggling to return to a regulated baseline sort of a place. Right? And trying to problem solve while you're both dysregulated, doesn't go well. Ask me how I know. The second challenge that we see often when we both have ADHD in a relationship is how, and again, this is what we were just talking about, how we can both experience RSD and create some pretty spectacular, I don't know what word I'm going with, spectacular, there we go, I found it. How our RSD can create some pretty spectacular misunderstandings. So perhaps one partner says, hey, did you remember to put the washing on? And the other person hears, you're useless and I deeply regret choosing you as a life partner. Okay? And they respond super defensively, right? So things can escalate very quickly, and RSD can be interpreted from the most simple questions like, hey, did you pop that washing on? Or did you remember to grab milk on the way home? And it can just turn into this full-blown emotional dysregulation and RSD spiral. Okay, so again, RSD can trigger RSD in the other person when the intention often isn't to do that. It can be very genuinely, hey, I just wanted to know if the washing went on or do I need to put it on? Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to give you some really good strategies for navigating this a little later on in the episode, okay? Number 3, the household can become executive dysfunction HQ. All right, this is one of the most common challenges that comes up in the research around when both partners have ADHD. Okay, so think bills, laundry, dinner, appointments, school stuff, cleaning, car registrations, buying toilet paper, remembering that Aunt Carol is arriving tomorrow and somebody has to pick her up, right? When one partner struggles with executive functioning, sometimes the other naturally will compensate. But when both of you struggle with your executive functioning, there may be nobody that is naturally filling that role. So we both thought the other person was doing it, or we talked about it, which our brains somehow filed under completed, done. Or we bought another bottle of tomato sauce because neither of us remembered that we already had 5 in the cupboard at home. Oh my gosh, that is so us. I swear we have so many tins of spaghetti and beans, which is like our easy dinner meal. I mean, if there's an apocalypse, we've got all the spaghetti and beans in our house, okay? Number 4, the mental load can become very unequal. So having ADHD doesn't automatically sort of create a 50-50 split in the household. One partner may have better systems or stronger, perhaps anxiety-driven coping strategies, different symptoms, or simply like years of compensating. So they may gradually become the reminder person, the appointment person, the money person, the school email person, the person who knows that the cat has to go to the vet on Thursday. Now this can create a sort of overfunctioner and underfunctioner dynamic in the relationship, even when both people have ADHD. This was something really interesting that I saw in some of the research. And of course, like this can lead to like one partner burning out or resentment in a relationship because of those unequal relationships. Again, this was sort of a reoccurring theme that showed up in the research. Number 5 is different ADHD profiles can clash. I think this one is really important too, because it really pushes back against that narrative of, well, you have ADHD too, so you should totally understand. As I said at the beginning, ADHD presents completely differently for each of us. So maybe one person in the relationship needs everything to be visible. Hi, that is totally my partner. He hasn't been diagnosed with ADHD, but he's definitely neurodivergent. Okay. So maybe one of you needs everything visible while the other person, hi, that's me, feels overwhelmed by that visual clutter. Okay. Or one of you needs background noise to be able to concentrate while the other wants absolute silence because you're overstimulated and overwhelmed already. Okay. Or one of you arrives 30 minutes early because anxiety compensates for time blindness, while the other person begins showering at the exact time that they are supposed to leave. Oh my gosh, I get anxious just thinking about that. Right? Or one partner may be very hyperactive and impulsive, but the other partner is predominantly inattentive type. Okay? That shared diagnosis does not equal a shared brain, a shared ADHD experience. Number 6, this one is quite a big one. Money. Money can become a real challenge. When we've got 2 impulsive, dopamine-seeking brains and a credit card, oh dear, that can become an interesting economic experiment, shall we say. So this could look like impulsive purchases, forgotten bills, subscriptions that you no longer use that you just keep paying for, Hi, that could be me. We actually had a TV subscription to, I think it was Neon, that I discovered the other day. And I thought I'd cancelled this months ago. And I was like, why am I paying this monthly subscription? What is this for? Oh my God, we still have access to Neon. Did not know. It can also look like avoiding financial admin, chasing novelty with your money, buying fun stuff, right? Having totally different attitudes towards spending, or, and this one's quite common, a difficulty planning long term. So, like saving up to buy things or planning for retirement, like that financial sort of planning. And again, like financial impulsivity and planning difficulties, like I said, frequently shows up in that research around dual ADHD relationships. This was actually something that my friend Logan and I talked about. We talk about this often actually when we catch up, because both him and his partner have ADHD, and this is something that they constantly work on. But we talked about it in episode 144. He came on the podcast. He talked about how he uses AI. They both use it, him and his partner, to support them in their relationship. But he was very open and transparent about some of the financial challenges that they have when it comes to, getting paid and making their money. I think they're paid fortnightly, making it last that 2 weeks, but also like impulsive spending when they see something that they really want, but they've been saving up for maybe a holiday or something else, how that can become such a problematic situation. And number 7 is sex and intimacy. Okay, this is such a fascinating topic. ADHD can affect our sex life in totally different ways, right? Somebody in the relationship might crave novelty and stimulation. Somebody else may really struggle to transition into sex because their brain is still thinking, oh my God, what about the laundry? Did I reply to that email? Have I let the dog out? Did I lock the door? Why do dinosaurs have tiny arms? I may or may not have been thinking about that the other day. Does anybody know why they have tiny arms? Okay, sorry, totally sidetracked. Back to it. So I recently did an entire episode on sex and intimacy, and it blew my mind learning how different those of us with ADHD can be when it comes to all things bedroom, okay? One of the terms I talked about in there was the difference between hypersexuality and hyposexuality. So hypersexuality basically means having a higher or more intense interest in sex, okay? And typically people with ADHD are one or the other. Classic all or nothing, okay? So us. So if you are hypersexual, that might look like thinking about sex a lot, wanting it often, seeking sexual stimulation, using sex or like sexual sort of attention for dopamine, right? Or feeling like you have these really strong, loud sexual urges that are very hard to switch off, okay? So that's hypersexuality. The opposite of that is hyposexuality, and that means having a low sexual desire, like very little interest in sex, which might look like not thinking about it much, not wanting it, not wanting to initiate it, feeling totally disconnected from that kind of desire, avoiding intimacy, or kind of feeling like your sex drive has just left the building, okay? If you're interested to learn more about this and how it plays out in the bedroom, which I think is so important if you both have ADHD, that was recently in episode number 174, where I talk about ADHD in the bedroom. And one of the things that I talk about in that is how in the early stages of a relationship, it can feel very intoxicating. Of course, like it's novel and there's lots of dopamine as you're like doing new things and getting to know this person. But when that wears off and when we settle into a routine together, we can be very quick to make that mean something is wrong, right? Or we can get bored and start to seek our dopamine or our novelty elsewhere, which unfortunately can lead to not good things in a relationship, all right? So those were the seven of the common challenges that are often talked about in the research around dual ADHD relationships. But now I want to talk a little bit about the good stuff, because it isn't all bad, for sure, right? In fact, there are so many reasons why you were attracted to another human with ADHD. Right? For me, I fucking love ADHDers. We are my favorite people. I think we are the most interesting, funny people on the planet. right? I love people who think outside the box, who act outside the box. Like, these are my kind of people. That's why I've got so many people around me, so many friends, so many people I get to work with and support. And like, so many people in my world have ADHD and other forms of neurodivergence because I fucking love us. I think we're epic, okay? So in terms of like the relationship dynamic, when you and somebody else that you're in a relationship with has ADHD, one of the really good things here is that you might genuinely get each other, or at least get some elements of each other really well, okay? So there can be a lot of relief when somebody understands, oh, of course you forgot. Oh, you got overwhelmed. Oh, yeah, I totally get it. Oh, you need some time alone? Yeah, I totally feel you. I do too. Oh, you can't make another decision today? Oh, no worries. I get it, right? Or, that to me is just so valuable. Like, that mutual understanding, the empathy, those are things that those of us with ADHD really get in a relationship, okay? So I think that is a huge asset. The second thing here is less judgment around our ADHD differences or quirks, whatever you want to call them, right? Forgot why you walked into a room? Same. For the third time today, I feel you, my friend. Or, you started cleaning the bathroom and somehow you ended up reorganizing the garage. I totally get it. I get it. Want some help? Right? You need to lie down horizontally for 10 minutes after you've come home from the supermarket. Welcome to my world. Right? It can be so wonderful to be in a relationship with somebody where you don't have to explain yourself and there is no judgment around some things that other people would be like, what? Why? How? What? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? The next one here is the fun, the novelty, the spontaneity. This is actually something that shows up a lot in the research. I think it was in Psychology Today as well. It came up repeatedly as a relationship strength when ADHD partners are often being described as spontaneous, energetic, creative, humorous, right? Two ADHD brains may generate some really random adventures. New hobbies, interesting conversations. Man, we can have the most random, fun conversations, I reckon. Ridiculous ideas, but like fun, crazy ones. Unexpected travel, creative problem solving, right? A Tuesday evening that somehow turns into us purchasing kayaks for summer. Potentially financially questionable, but also incredibly memorable. On a personal note here, my ADHD friends are the ones I have the best adventures and the most hilarious memories with. One that actually came to mind as I was making some notes for this episode was how we had a girls' weekend away. There were 4 of us. Now, 3 out of the 4 of us have ADHD. And we went on a hike one morning where we kind of went over this hill and down to a body of water. I think maybe it was the ocean or something. And one of my friends, I was at the back and she was in front of me. She starts singing Lion King, a Wimboe, a Wimboe. And she starts like literally like kind of dancing and walking through, like she goes off track and out towards like the edge of the track where there's like trees. And then she's like trips over and she's like cracking up at herself. And I start filming it. So sometimes we like watch this thing back and it's hilarious. Next minute I'm getting a brown eye. I've got it on film, like hilarious. And then we like get to where we were walking to and she's like, okay, let's go for a swim. It's fucking freezing cold. Next minute, we're all stripping off to our bras and undies and we're getting in this water. Like, hilarious memories. Seriously. Like, ADHDers can create some real fun and some real damn good memories. And the next really good thing about ADHD relationships is you can body double each other. Right? This is a really useful benefit. Like, you want to do some boring life admin together? Great. Put some music on, grab both your laptops, pay the bills, book the appointments, clean the kitchen, right? You could kind of call it like turning your partner into a productivity accessory, but obviously with consent, okay? My friend, let's get into some practical tools. I am going to share with you 8 practical tools to support your dual ADHD relationships. Number 7, I have to say, is like one of my favorites and a real regular in our relationship for sure. So starting at the top, number 1, externalize everything. Okay. Your brain ain't gonna remember shit. Like, and if you do, that's fantastic. But let me let me tell you, you're going to remember the most random things. You're going to have this memory from like when you were 7 years old that all of a sudden gets triggered, and then you're going to remember all of the lyrics to a song from when you were 15 years old. Not particularly helpful. But externalizing everything. It's really important not to try and store it in the other person's head or hope that one of you is going to remember. It's really cute to think you're going to remember, but let's be really honest here. Working memory is a challenge for those of us with ADHD, all right? So externalizing everything, that looks like having a shared calendar, okay? Having a whiteboard, having a shared notes app, using timers, automatic payments, a shared shopping list. I was actually really impressed the other day. I was visiting my brother and his girlfriend, and they recently moved in together. And she's standing in the kitchen making dinner, and she goes, "Hey, Alexa, add tomato sauce to shopping list." And I was like, what just happened? And Alexa speaks back, "I have added tomato sauce to the shopping list." I mean, she doesn't sound anything like that, but whatever. But if you can have one of those fancy little devices that does it for you, fantastic. But my point is, your relationship should not rely on working memory, okay? Externalize everything. I promise it's going to help you. In our kitchen, we have a blackboard painted on one of the walls, and it has a month calendar on it, and we put our grocery items, like the space to like write what we need to get from groceries below it, and like make notes on another side about like tasks that we need to do around the house. And it's just so helpful. We see it, the kids see it, like anybody who comes over sees it. Like it's right there, but it is so fucking useful. Number 2, have a weekly 15-minute us admin check-in. Okay, this is not a relationship summit. This is just a, hey, what's happening this week? Who's doing what? Is there anything that's falling through the cracks? Is there anything you need help with? Is there anything I need help with? Anything that we need to talk about? Right? This is also that time to update the whiteboard, or in our case, the blackboard, right? To update the shared calendar for the week ahead, right? Make sure that everything has been externalized. So for us, this typically happens on a Sunday morning. It's not religious, I'm going to be totally honest, but we will, after we've been for a morning walk, hop back into bed, or sort of, sit down, check in, and like talk about the past week, anything that we need to recap on, and like what's coming up, and just make sure that we're on the same page. Number 3, and I think this one's really important, is get to know each other's ADHD. Have some questions, like ask each other questions. Hey, what does ADHD look like for you? Like, what do you think are your challenges and your strengths? Instead of assuming that you know what it looks and feels like for them, ask them, right? And together you can identify each of your triggers, your executive function challenges, your sensory needs. Okay, maybe your partner loves to play music in the evenings, but you're really overwhelmed and overstimulated in the evenings, and that's not good. So maybe they could put headphones in instead. All right, that's definitely something that has to happen in our household, okay? Right, talk about your communication preferences, your warning signs for each of you for overwhelm, your strengths. I want to say definitely do this from a regulated place. This is not something that you want to do like when you're dysregulated in the middle of an argument. Like, you don't even know what ADHD is like for me. Like no. Do it from a regulated place, my friend. Number 4, and this is really, really helpful, create a conflict rule and make it playful. So what I mean by that is, like, in our relationship, we have a word. And we've actually got 2 words. I don't know how we ended up with 2, but I think we forgot our first one, so we came up with a second one, and now we got 2. But in our relationship, we will either yell out popcorn or pineapple. And that means take a time out, walk away, let's go for a break. Okay? So either of us can call this out when one or both of us is dysregulated. So for example, the other day, he was really annoyed with the boys. They had made a shit of a mess in the lounge. I totally get why he was annoyed. And then they were fighting each other, yelling. Oh my God, it was not cool. And he was raising his voice over the top of them. And it got to the point where I was like, this is going nowhere. This is not helpful. So I yelled out pineapple, and I made that timeout symbol with my hands. Like, hey, pineapple, timeout. And I sent the kids off to their rooms, and I sent Em, I was like, you need to go chill in our room too. So basically I sent him to his room. But like, importantly, this is not like a timeout isn't like abandonment. This isn't, punishment or anything like that. It's about, hey, we're dysregulated. This is going nowhere. This is not productive. So let's just take a little break, take a timeout, and we can reconvene later. Okay. It can also be really helpful to use that word like a cushion. So when you think that your partner might experience RSD, you can cushion it with that word so that they know that's not your intention. This is actually something that Logan talked about in episode 144 when he came on the podcast. He talked about him and his wife Shah and how they use the word Rigby, the most random word, Rigby. So it could be like, Rigby, did you do that load of washing? And instead of that person being like, oh, fuck, I forgot, like you're always on my case, and then they, get dysregulated, or maybe they feel RSD when you ask that question, it's saying, hey, I'm not wanting to upset you or offend you. Like my intention's totally good. Rigby, did you do that load of washing today? You see what I mean? Like it's just like adding this layer of cushioning, and they're like, oh no, I totally forgot. And you're like, no worries, like I'll go sort it out. Okay. So again, it's like a really, like have it be a fun, playful, silly sort of a word so that it does stand out in a conversation when you need it. Number 5, check the story that you are telling yourself. Man, I have to do this with myself all the time, right? It's about asking before you're assuming. As humans, and especially as ADHDers, we are meaning-making machines. We take something, we make it mean something, and so often our brain is pretty damn creative with that. For example, let's say your partner didn't reply to your text message when you asked, hey, what time will you be home? And your ADHD brain goes, oh my God, they're annoyed with me. Holy shit, they don't care about me. Maybe they're seeing someone else, right? So instead of like jumping to those conclusions, I like to say in my brain, hey, the story I'm telling myself is they're annoyed with me. Or the story I'm telling myself is they don't care. Okay? This can be really helpful in a conversation where you are kind of having a disagreement, or maybe you're feeling upset with your partner, is, hey, the story I told myself is that you didn't reply to me because you were upset and angry with me. Is that true? Is that what's actually happening here? Okay. Our ADHD brains can fill in missing information with spectacularly harsh things. Okay. So using that, the story my brain is telling me is really helpful, right? The story my brain is telling me is that you're annoyed with me and you want to break up. Is that what's actually happening? Right? Again, ask before assuming. Number 6, put connection in the calendar. This one has been very helpful for our relationship, right? It could be that you put dates in the calendar, right? A monthly date that you go on, or you put walks in the calendar, or coffee dates, or, no phone time together, right? Or even sex in the calendar. Not because you're failing romantically, but because ADHD brains, we respond well to having that cue or to having some sort of a structure, okay? Number 7, I told you this is one of my favorites. Number 7, the percentage check-in. Okay, this is actually something that came from Brene Brown. Love Brene Brown. So how we do this in our household is when one of us get home, right? Say the other one's already at home. I'm at home. I've been working from home all day. M comes from, being out working wherever he was. He gets home. And then we'll say, hey, what percentage have you got? And I'll say, hey, I'm at 20% today. Where are you at? And he'll say, okay, I'm at 50%, right? And then we will fill in the rest of the evening as needed. So say if we've got the kids and he's at 50%, I'll say, cool, do you mind doing their dinner? I'll do lunch boxes, and then I'm just going to chill out and have a break for a while. Okay? So it's kind of establishing who's got the most energy, mentally, emotionally, physically, who's got the most mental bandwidth left later in the day. So when you both get home together at the end of the day, doing this kind of percentage check-in, because one of you might be on top of the world, 80%, and the other one's 0. I've got nothing. I am done. I literally need to go sit in bed and eat toast for dinner. Okay? So instead of expecting that other person to be on the same sort of wavelength, it helps to establish, well, cool, can you take on a little bit more tonight and I'll do a little bit less? Really helpful kind of gauge for where each other's at, and also knowing when M knows when I say I'm really low, hey, Like, don't push my buttons. Give me some space and grace. Like, don't expect me to be on top of my game. Expect me to take things as offense. Like, we've gotten really good at kind of establishing that dynamic. And I know when he's really tired, he's going to give me a low percentage number, but I need to give him a little bit of space and grace, because when he's a tired human, he is not a wonderful human. Don't tell him I said that, okay? So that percentage check-in is such a great little tool to have. And lastly, number 8, regulate before you come back to communicate. Regulate before having those courageous or difficult conversations. If you've got an issue that you guys need to talk about, if you had an argument, you took some time out and you need to come back to talk about it together, is getting yourself to a regulated state before you do that, right? Like, have those important conversations when you're well-resourced, not when one of you's hungry, aka hangry, right? Overstimulated or rushing around or exhausted or, halfway through 6 other things. The acronym that comes from the AA world that I love is HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. That's what it stands for. So HALT, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, solve for that before coming back together to talk. And the other one I would add to that is regulated. Right? If you're emotionally dysregulated, which often we are when, we're having an argument with our partner, is take that time out and come back together when you're regulated to talk about it. Okay? Now, I want to end by saying that I invite you both to listen to this episode together. If you are in a relationship where you both have ADHD, or if you have neurospicy brains, listen to this together, hit pause throughout, talk about things, make a few notes, and stick those notes on your fridge so that you can build a shared language, like a shared system for when relationship conflict happens, when you trigger each other's ADHD, because it's going to happen, my friend. It is going to happen. 2 ADHD brains can absolutely amplify each other's chaos, but they can also amplify each other's creativity and humor and empathy and adventure and connection. Okay? So perhaps the question isn't, how do we stop ADHD affecting our relationship? It's, how do we build a relationship that works with both of our unique ADHD brains? All right. Huge love to you. Take care, my friend. I'll speak to you soon. Hey friend, if you want some more help navigating and thriving with ADHD and some help applying everything that you're learning here on the podcast, then head over to our website, navigatingadultadhd.com.